it'll be interesting to see kind of like how that breaks down for this new network. It's where like a company becomes a giant and then they forget who they are and they fall. That's pretty crazy. Hi, this is Robbie Bear, and welcome to the Familyguide podcast presented by Movieguide. This is something where we go through all sorts of things about everything from being a dad and a Christian in this crazy world, about how we raise our kids, about life we live, about how to be a Christian in a digital media saturated world, and just how to live life. So I cannot believe it, but Christmas is coming up. I mean, it is crazy to think that Christmas is coming around the corner. Christmas music, I wish I was better at finding good Christmas music. To speak of Christmas music.
Well, I do think Costco already has Christmas trees and stuff.
Oh, really? Man, I feel like they're just pushing it sooner and sooner and sooner, which is crazy. And like Black Friday used to be a big deal. Now it's like they've got so many of those, which I don't know if this is apocryphal, but I heard that it was called Black Friday because it was the first time retailers made money. And on a financial sheet, black means that they made money. Red is they lost money. So they lost money all year until Black Friday. All
their money. Wow.
Yeah. And then beyond. But it does feel like retailers, it feels like everybody's pushing stuff up. But it also means those heartwarming holiday movies,
My wife's favorite.
I know. Mine too. My wife's too.
Loves them.
And GAC is kind of, it's coming out swinging this year, I mean, they really kind of came brand new into the world, and they just kind of took some of the major celebrities. I mean, they have Candace Cameron Bure.
Yep. Lori Loughlin.
Lori Loughlin. That's a big deal because, she went through that whole sort of controversy and she came back, and, we are people who believe in redemption, so people can be redeemed. And I know that she's doing like a rom-com for them, and Candace is like, I think she's been very vocal about how much she loves the change. Like, I think she really likes the new network, and she said that it's like very family oriented, which is cool. I mean, it'd be fascinating to see this year because, I mean, if you think about it, like they're really going head to head against Hallmark
and Netflix.
And Hallmark made people so mad last time,
it'd be interesting to see how they navigate this year,
Yeah, this is a big year. I mean, it is hard to start a new network. Mm-hmm. And, Bill Abbott is the CEO, and he's done a great job, and he's brought over incredible people. But, man, like what a hard
that's huge
thing to be able to do, and they're doing it. And, and they also, I think they have some spin-offs of When Calls the Heart. So that helps.
Those are going to do great.
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are mega popular.
Yeah, but it'll be fascinating to see like what, and those have won Movieguide awards before and everything. And obviously, Candace Cameron Bure has won a lot of stuff too. But it'll be interesting to see like what happens. You know what I mean? I don't think they have a streaming platform yet, so it's like one of those things you only can see through television. But I think you might even be able to see it on broadcast actually. Television.
I'm sure they'll probably launch their own app at some point. I mean, there's got to be in the works.
I mean, if you get those, it's crazy that you can get bunny ears and you can get it like free TV.
Yeah. HD TV.
I read an article that like millennials and Gen Zers and below, when they were talking about this guy who was trying to sell it at like a fair or something, and people thought it was illegal. Like they actually thought like, oh, is this like stealing content or whatever? Yeah. And they actually thought it was an illegal thing because they're so unused to the fact that there is free broadcast. But I think they're actually making the switch I think it's switching to 4K now. I don't even think it's HD.
That's crazy.
I think the new standard for broadcast television over the air is, I think it's like 4K maybe now. I think so. I'm not totally sure.
Wow.
But that's pretty crazy. And so I think GAC is available through that.
I was wondering when the trend would be that like Gen Z or something is like, there's this thing called like cable TV and they curate everything for you already. You don't have to search through the menus.
That is so funny. You never know.
Comes back around. No, just
kidding. But broadcast is, I mean, that's like that. No, the thing that's interesting too is like, I read an article that in the past, oftentimes when you think about Hallmark, you think probably older, right? Older people viewing it. But actually it was like one of the most popular thing with like millennials and like Gen Xers. I always forget which. I can't remember. Sorry, that generation in the middle. Nobody talks about you.
Love
I'm
you.
sorry.
Keep listening.
No, I'm just kidding. And obviously everybody's individual and different, so you might not even be in feel like you're in your generation, and you could be totally different. But I think that it'll be interesting to see kind of like how that breaks down for this new network. And it's just like, what a bold thing to do and to start something. And I think that they just wanted to create something that went back to like people feeling about family. And you know what? Like there's a lot of different content made by some incredible people. You know, like PureFlix makes amazing content. Like, you know, Up TV makes amazing content. Like there's so many different styles of content made for different types of people. You know, Kingdom Story Company makes a different kind of content. Like the Kendrick brothers make different content. But like, you know, there's just, it's okay. Like different people like different things, and that's okay. Like that's been the power of the internet. They call it long tail, is the fact that it is okay for people to like different subsegments. Yeah. And it seems like there is that place, as you see through Hallmark or other things, that people want that kind of nostalgic, simple, like kind of family. And they kind of began to forget their brand. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like Hallmark has been walking away from who they were and their brand in the mix of it. And it didn't make sense. Like they were trying to become, they seem like they're trying to become more like Lifetime. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like Lifetime, they've got their own market. Like they're targeting their own market and they've got it and they're winning that. You know what I mean? But like, it doesn't make sense for Hallmark to be that. Like Hallmark was kind of like, just kind of traditional family, like kind of like, it was like a Thomas Kincaid painting or whatever. You know what I mean? It wasn't modern art. Yeah. You know? And so like, it's interesting to see that. And so I feel like because they've kind of like, they were going this way and killing it, and now they just like this. It's interesting to see kind of like GAC or
filling that void.
Great American Family, because I think they changed the name, like taking over that void. You know, and it'll be interesting to see, like, I mean, it's really like a David versus Goliath story. It'd be cool to see them kind of. But like the history of business is one of those. Yeah. It's where like it's where like a company becomes a giant and then they forget who they are and they fall, right? Like they become a dinosaur and then they forget who their core brand was, right? You know, and they fall. And a lot of times that happens when like it's important for you to focus on your employees, but it's never important to focus on your employees over your customers, you know? And a lot of times like people, like even for a lot of this sort of, you know, I mean, this is controversial, but they talk about woke capitalism or whatever. It's like so many of these companies, like they're listening to like some, like, and there's been a lot of research. There's a fascinating research that came out from Lincoln Network or whatever, where like a small percentage within companies that want these sort of ideological things. Okay. And they did a huge study. I think it was really awesome. I think they're called the Lincoln Network, if I remember. And they did it with some like research institution, but like it was like I don't even remember. Maybe it was like 2%, like 3% of a company that actually wants these things, like their pronouns or like all of these like very, very, very small things, and they're dictating what the whole company wants. What's the company? The rest of the
changing entire policy for everything.
Like the rest of the staff, like they just want to love their work and just to do their business. Like they don't feel like they need to get politically involved. And it's interesting to see like these companies that because of that like marginal, like the 2% of kids who are shooting spit wads in the classroom, it's like the teachers are changing the whole classroom. Yeah. So they're making it so everybody has to shoot spit wads. And it's like, man, like the kids want to pay attention to the class. Like there's only 2 kids in there that don't want to pay attention. And that's kind of like what's been happening with these companies, where it's like, oh my gosh, that's what was so fascinating about that study. It's like 2% of these people like are dictating everything of like, oh, you know, the pronouns or the abortion debate. Like most people would rather their company actually not be involved in that debate at all, because it's just a company or whatever, as opposed to like, you know, now they're like, oh, you know, we're going to pay for you to have an abortion. It's like, why? Like there are tons of Christians who don't want that. Like there's a moral conflict there. Right. Like why would you offend that whole audience in there? It doesn't make sense.
That's the other thing, is you're kind of making a worse working environment for the majority of your employees when you're forcing these things that a tiny minority is obsessed with.
It's so bad. And the problem is like they're forgetting the very purpose of why they exist.
Yeah.
And the very purpose of why a company exists is for their customers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like that is the purpose. Like their purpose is how can they improve the life of their customers?
Right.
It's not any other reason. You know, and like I think that like capitalism is the greatest invention human beings have ever invented, way better than the wheel and glasses or whatever. You know, writing, it even beats writing. You know, it is
made
just
all
like,
those things affordable.
It is like game changing
Yeah.
in the way that it is. And I think capitalism naturally, like, and people debate this, of course, you can debate me. But the thing is like it naturally pushes you towards, man, what is the call of a capitalist? It's like if you run a business, it's so interesting people who prognosticate about it who don't run a business. Like I feel the blessing to be able to be the CEO now of this organization. But like even before that, like running 2 companies and even working for other companies, it's like when you run a business, like you have to be the greatest servant. Like you cannot be like, you have to like serve your customer in order for them to buy your product. Like you have to bend over backwards to be able to make sure that they feel like they are serviced.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's not something like you cannot be a jerk to the customer. You know what I mean? Like even if you want to, even if the customer is a jerk, like it teaches you humility. It teaches you service. Like it teaches you a whole bunch of those elements to like take care of those people. And I just feel like these companies are forgetting that very thing. They're losing their way. They're forgetting that their purpose is for their customer and they're forgetting it.
But the cool thing, I do feel like the cool thing with capitalism is you got that next guy standing in line waiting to serve those customers if the big guy drops the ball.
You know what? That is a great point. Like they're waiting to eat your lunch. If you don't want to serve the customer, they will serve the customer. And that is like what I think is happening with GAC. And I hope it just kills it in like this crazy world where they're just saying like, hey, Hallmark, you want to be able to serve a customer that wasn't your customer. You want to be able to go after like something that's way over here. Who knows why, you know, as opposed to the people who were faithful to you all along. You know what I mean? Because you're listening to maybe those 2% of employees as opposed to the 98 who wanted to keep staying for their customer.
Your millions of viewers.
Right. But the thing is that those millions of viewers, they are going to find something. You know what I mean? Like they are going to seek and find something.
It's easier than ever to pivot to a new streaming service or channel or anything. Yeah. It's easier than ever.
I love that point that you made. Because you're so right. Like there's somebody waiting to service that customer. Yeah. And like, I just think people are also like the consumers are forgetting like there's a lot of bad content and there's a lot of great content. Make sure you watch good content. Every time we do one of these things, someone tells us about a horrible show that they watch. Please
stop watching
17,000 shows.
Stop watching them.
Stop watching and watch something else. But like, there's also a lot of classic content. And we were talking to a guy who is in charge of like one of the large classic content libraries. And he was talking about the fact that like, man, like people watch a ton of that. Like you can watch I Love Lucy anytime you want. You can watch, Father Knows Best or any of those shows.
We had Turner Classic Movies on all the time. Right. On TV.
But now you can watch it on demand anytime. You know, you can watch Andy Griffith's show or whatever.
Bob Tex Allen.
Just know that like the more you push that stuff too, it also sends a signal. You as a consumer can make a difference. And remember that is something that is a primary value that Movieguide says is that we believe you can make a difference. You are the most powerful person in Hollywood. If you watch bad content, they will make more bad content. If you watch good content, they will make good content because at the end of the day, they are a business. And no matter if 2% of their or 1% of their employees tell them otherwise, they have to make money. You know, and so they're only going to make the content that you watch. So please watch good content. Thank you so much for listening to the Movieguide Podcast. And let us know if there's anything else you want us to talk to about in the comments. We love talking with each other about all sorts of different things, and we would love to cover any topic that you want to be able to talk to. We thank you so much for all of you who listen on a regular basis, and we look forward to next week.